Testing, testing, testing. Okay. Hey everybody. I hope everybody's doing fine today. I hope everybody's doing well. Bear with me one second. So, what's up, everybody? I'm gonna keep this hopefully not too long. Um, I'm 24 years of age, uh, and I do feel young. I mean, I am pretty young. um, I guess what I came to the conclusion of today is that there's a difference between saying that you don't care what anybody else thinks about you and then actually not caring what anybody else thinks about you. And I think the line that defines that is not the line that leads you to feel like you're an outlaw because you're defying what everybody else thinks of you. Uh, but I think it's the fact that when you express yourself and you express your truths, you live comfortable with yourself. And being 24, I think I just realized that today, like the reality of what that exactly means. Um, a lot for a long time, um, I've been hurt by trauma in the past and things that have happened to me, crises that have happened to me, and those kinds of things shut you down and they lead you to become essentially someone that you're not. Kind of shell you up, right? And then you become accustomed to just head down, do what I got to do, but keep my head down. But the reality of the thing is that if you're watching this, at least if you're like me, because when I'm me now me scours for different ways that I can beat the competition at any given moment. I'm poor. I don't have a great YouTube setup. I mean, I have great mic and little lights and stuff like that, but you know what I'm saying? I'm not Mr. Beast. And I know that I could be, even if it's not my main calling. I know I can get this degree finished. I know I can get in the cage and be a great opponent in MMA. So I know what I know that I can do, but I haven't gotten to the point exactly yet where you know which one it is that you're going to chase completely. And I think a lot of the part of the 24 is about trying the shit, because you can try at 18, 19, 20, 21. 22 is kind of where the mark starts bending into the 24 mindset mentality. About 22, 23, I got my mind right. Yeah, something like that. 22, 23, your mind changes. It shifts from the 18 to 22 perspective. Um, Essentially, you're kind of a teenager in those years too. But after that 22-year mark, something kind of starts flipping inside of you, and you start kind of fiending for different answers, and yeah, you become more mature, a lot more mature. At 24 now, um, I live in a small room in my mother's house, not where I want to be at all. Everything is great, and I'm grateful for it. That's one thing that I see as a common concept in just life in general is the fact that you should be really grateful for. Sorry. Yeah, that you should be essentially grateful for what we have, right? What you have, because being grateful, thankfulness is the opening manifesto to receiving blessings, right? Love is good energy, blah, blah, blah. What? Another thing that I see at 24 is that I still feel hurt from when I was 19. I still feel the same pain from when I was 17. I still feel the same regret for not taking that shot at state and losing my wrestling match at state. I still feel that I rerun those events still in my head in different ways now, but I I'm still in that championship match sometimes. But the thing that separates me now from the 20 slash the 18 to the 22-year-old mentality is that in the 24-year-old mentality, you're not looking back on it in the way of regret anymore. You're looking back in the way of constructive criticism. When I look back on that match, usually the only times I'm looking at that match is whenever I'm either squatting like a PR, like heavy ass squat, like a 360, something like that, right? Like a 360, blah, blah, blah. If I'm doing that, I run those events in my head because they come to my head because it fulfills passion inside of me, because that's one place that I will never let myself get to again, because I felt pain in that moment. When I was young, my mother was a victim of domestic violence. I used to watch my father beat my mom, and my oldest sister would try and stop them. And at the time, I think I was like 5 or 6, something like that. So I would try, but there wasn't much that I could really do to a grown man. And those were two of the women that I cared about the most in my life. And I promised myself that, I've never felt, I could never feel that helplessness again. I couldn't help them even if I had wanted to, and I wanted to, but I couldn't help. There was nothing that I could do as a young boy of that age to a grown man like that, right? Who is a Navy SEAL and a Greco-Roman champ. Like, there was nothing that I was going to do at that age that was going to make any difference except for scream and cry. And that feeling built up inside of me. That's like the youngest part version of me, right? Then you got the midpoint version of me. I'm like a fat boy in the 7th grade. I think I started wrestling then. And I remember it was my first match, possibly at a McCracken middle school. And I was getting hammered by a guy that was like in the 8th grade, testosterone boosted up. And he looked like he should have been a senior in high school. And I was just this fat pudge ball. And luckily, my mom said she wasn't going to be able to come because she was going to be at work, and my sister was being caught up late at work too. These were the women that provided me the finances to be able to do these sports. And so I was like, thank God they're not going to be here because I'm getting mine beat. Well, as I'm getting pinned, I turn my head not because I wanted to. I turn my head because my whole body is being contorted by this grown man on top of me, and I feel like my neck is about to bust inside of my fucking rib cage, and I can't breathe. I'm squealing. I'm cutting oxygen inside of my neck, going like that. If any of you know what that feeling feels like. And as I turn my head and I look out to the door of the gymnasium, I see my oldest sister barely getting in there from work. And I see my mother that she got to make it to my meet. And all they saw at the time was me essentially getting my ass beat. I cried that day. Yes, I did. They told me everything was fine, that I did great. I know I didn't do fine. Inside of me, something hurt, because inside of me, it wasn't that person anymore. It wasn't 7th grade me that was worried anymore. It was the 5th-year-old kid. And then now the 7th grade year old one experienced the same thing because he was helpless. He was helpless even though he's older. He was helpless that he couldn't he couldn't have fought back in front of the two women that I care about the most. They do all this sacrifice for me, and I lay down like a bitch and got manhandled by someone else. And I had gotten manhandled by my dad. I let my father manhandle my mom. And at that point, I was sick of the shit. No one ever in my life would ever manhandle me or manhandle anyone that I cared about. I made a decision in my mind that day, that same day in the 7th grade in McCracken Middle School with a blue singlet on and my big titty hanging out of the side of it. I made a decision, a pact in my own mind that never would anybody ever contort me like that or abuse anybody in my family, and I would let them run over me. Never would that happen. I would become strong. I would become a weapon, and no man would ever hurt my daughter. No man would ever hurt my wife, my mother, my sisters, my family. No one, no one. And I became a pretty good, very good athletic, uh, very good athlete. Okay, I became a very good athlete from then on, and that's what's carried me on to become now who I am. So now look, fast forward, I make it to the states, state championships, blah blah blah. Well, I've become this fucking stud. Now I'm in states, but even in states, you got these challenges. Well, that was my challenge. I just didn't, I thought too much and I didn't take the jump. I could have taken the kid down with 10 seconds left and I didn't because I was tired. It's like I kind of held onto a stall instead of doing what I know that I should have done. 24-year-old me now combines all three of those and you put in action. It's like there's more concrete action than thinking. Before it was thinking, oh, I'm going to become the weapon. Okay. How do you become the weapon? Starts to become the weapon. Now you've formulated a weapon. And now you put what this weapon can do into action. My father's dead now. So my rivalry match, my Baki Hama match, it won't ever happen. All that I've ever felt, that anger, fear, whatever, wanted some get back, it's not going to happen. And that buries down with him whenever he went down too. I do MMA now, and that keeps me healthy. You're going to need to find yourself something that makes you realize you're not powerful. And what I mean by that is that a lot of society, not you specifically if you're watching this video, but a lot of society is okay with the internet and walking around and they've never gotten punched in the fucking face. They've never gotten punched in the fucking face. They've never gotten choked out. They've never been in the third round and gotten choked out. They've never really wanted to win that championship tournament, blah, 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 and got choked out in the finals. Or an arm broken, arm bar, whatever. That hasn't happened to these people. So they walk around knowing that they're invincible. You need to know that you're not invincible. Not in a mental capacity form, invincible, or even physically non-invincible. I mean the fact that you're just not the shit. You are the shit, but don't be shit, if that makes sense. Just because you're capable of breaking everyone's neck doesn't give you the right to break everyone's neck. You'll learn that. That's one thing now I've learned. I mean, I've kind of always known that, but I was more of a hothead when I was younger. Like I said, in those teenage years, the 16 to even the 20 mark, right? In college years. Now, you would never catch me getting in an argument, heated moment, fight. No, it's not worth it. I don't care because I know what I know. I'm not invincible, no, but I'll know that I can drop kick Timmy square in the chin and he'll be dead. He'll be dead. So it doesn't phase you, and more or less, if it doesn't phase you because you should be a guardian to society. not a terrorizer. There's another big part. Don't get stuck in the villain arc. Somewhere around the lines of 17 to your 20-year mark, you're going to experience heartbreak for the first time. Real heartbreak. Once you've actually become established, that you realize that you're a little bit older, that you're ready for a committed relationship. And so you try, but you're not really ready because you're not aware of what being committed really feels like yet, because you never have been. So then you commit, and 9 out of 10, you usually fail. This one fails. And many of them get married. Some of them do. And then they're just shit and they cheat on each other. But the point is that you will experience heartbreak. You will. And another huge crisis. Your personality and whoever you think that you are is going to turn invertedly. What I mean by that is whoever you thought you were is going to go just like that. Because what people did to you, what you did to other people, how other people perceive you, how you perceive yourself. Usually it's the heartbreak that sends people into like an identity crisis, because if you ever feel like you give so much of yourself to someone that when it's all said and done, you don't know who you are anymore. That's real. And you will experience in the next couple years afterwards reinventing and finding yourself again, going back to those old roots of the person that you really are to figure it out. Another thing with 24 is that it feels like time is now running out, even though time is very infinite. It's also very finite. And not only at this point are you probably intellectually and articulate enough to understand that kind of concept in your mind, like the past and the future and the present, you're able to combine in a philosophical aspect, meaning of life, and what it exactly means to be all tied together. You're able to conceptualize that a little bit much more seriously inside of your head now. And a lot of that will have to do with a lot of the work that you put into yourself over the years, after your crisis, after your heartbreaks, your traumas, blah, 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 blah. But these are going to be the years where you're going to maybe not be exactly where you want to be, but you know where you're going. Hopefully. Some of you are going to be behind. That's the reality of it. And I'm 24, so I don't give a shit if I say that and I'm wrong, which I may very well could be wrong. But I'm telling you because I'm feeling it right now. I'm literally 24 years of age right now, and I turned 25 in August. That's like a month away in 2023, July the 2nd, 2023 today. It's 9:03 p.m. So I'm 24 now. I'm speaking to you what it feels like in the flesh and body, what I've experienced in this last year, combined with all the previous schemas and all aspects of my life prior to. This is what it's all come down to. I have that. You see that Letterman back there? I've had the state championships. I've had this. You could say I'm a pretty intellectual individual. I went to university, the first in my family to go to university. So I've lived a pretty average life. I've lived a good life so far. A lot of bad things have happened. A lot of chances that I took when I was younger that hurt me. I was a little bit much more open with my heart when it came to people, because I believed, here's another thing, believing that women are just naturally caring creatures. They're not. I've been there. And I was more giving with my heart in the past. You'll learn eventually that that is not the case. So just because your mother was that way, that doesn't mean that every woman in the world is that way. They do not have the same ethics, the values, the morals as your mother did. So not all of them deserve the same respect. People deserve respect, but that does not mean to give away your dignity for women. That does not mean to give love to women that are lower frequency than you. Just because you think or that you know what they need to help them doesn't mean that you need to help them. They don't want to be helped. When J. Cole said she don't want to be saved, she don't want to be saved. And that I learned at 24. Actually that I learned at 23, 22. And she don't want to be saved. If she wanted to be saved, she would tell you, don't save her. She don't want to be saved. Another thing, family most likely are the last people that are going to stick with you. Friends don't really last. Even your long-term friends, they're going to get their lives together too, and they're going to do what they have to do also. You'll have a friend here and there that's like, just long-term friend, but don't tell all your friends everything. And then at the same time, your friends aren't all your friends. And another time, don't be just a lone wolf. Rely on these people too, but don't give these people everything, because when the moment comes, they'll take from you everything. That's dangerous. Evade this by being smart and just not opening up to people like that also. You must be trusting of people. But see, I'm going to go backwards almost in a sense and take back what I said, because you have to trust these people. You have to, at some point, give your all in order to get failed, to get shut down and experience what it's like to fail and be hurt and be betrayed. You have to know what this pain feels like in order to evolve, grow, and change. It doesn't happen overnight. Well, I mean, shit can happen overnight, but it will take a lot of time for you to see your canon events. Be giving, be trusting, be loving. And like I said, skip the villain arc once it's done. Let go of the pain, the grief, the anger, the fear. Love again. Be grateful again. Because if you don't love again, I'm speaking to myself as well, because it's hard. Trust me. I still love her. I always will. You always will. You always will. It won't ever really go away. Just as I said that, you're older, but just because you're older doesn't mean that anything really changes. Only the physical aspects and appearances actually change. Essentially, everything from the inside remains the same. So keep that into perspective. It's not going to go away. You just learn to have better ways of managing your emotions and analyzing and categorizing information into its proper bin. It doesn't have to be heartbreak. It can be great emotions to look back onto as a moment of clarity, as a moment of peace, or as a moment of just bliss. It doesn't always have to be hurt. So be okay with taking that step forth, loving again. Love everyone, not just intimately, sexually, relationship wise. Love again. Do not be afraid to love again, because you're only 24. So if we already know so much that we know now, we had to make mistakes to learn. Just because you think that you know what to put into action now doesn't mean you're not going to make a mistake. So take the risk, make mistakes, because you got a while to learn. And like I said, you're still young, but you're getting older. Just don't be stupid. That's about it, guys. Peace out.